Thanks for joining us on I Met Jesus. This is where we are exploring the lives of some people in Scripture who encounter Jesus Christ and they walk away changed one way or another. You can't be neutral when you encounter Christ. We hope that you learn a lot from the podcast, and we hope that it challenges you and what your encounter with Christ is like as well.
Welcome to the Crossroads Podcast. I am back from Germany, which might have fooled you from our optical illusion where we recorded 2 podcasts before I left.
And we didn't post it till you got back.
What?
Guten Tag.
Okay, so...
Sprechen Sie Deutsch?
Yeah, pretty okay. So I have another...
Camera feed has already been lost.
Oh, no.
Parker!
Welcome into the Crossroads Podcast. You've got me, Kevin. We've got Jason. We've
Jason,
got
there's no
Wes.
video, so if you make faces, it
I'm just
doesn't
making
matter.
faces at Crystal. What's up? What's up?
No Parker today.
I just want to let everybody know we've gone through the video feed for like 10 minutes and it's just not happening today. So
Technical difficulties.
we're going to get into our biblical discussion.
Are we?
Today, sometime.
Lord willing, we will talk about Peter and Andrew. But since I was in Germany, I wanted to share some of that with you and also apologize to some people along the way. But first, you asked, I've thought about this a lot. You asked if I could speak German.
Yes.
I have a,
Sprechen Sie Deutsch?
yes.
Our German fans that are listening to the podcast.
You speak German. So I should have brought my other notebook that had my motivational speech that I gave to my team that was in German. I think I did it pretty well. But I have another job that I do that involves talking. And when
In German?
Actually, when I returned to said job, I did the entire introduction in German,
Nice.
much to the chagrin of the other people that I work with.
Did they catch any of it?
Oh yeah, welcoming
Oh, okay.
is
I got you.
pretty close to welcome. But I wanted to ask you guys, how competitive is too competitive at the Jesus baseball camp? Because
Call
I
it that.
might have been too competitive.
Well, based on a story that you told me right before the podcast, spiking your notebook in the dugout in response to a call might be too competitive.
So that definitely happened. 100%. That happened. So I didn't. I guess I wasn't prepared for.
Did you get ejected from a game?
No,
At Jesus baseball camp.
There's one game in particular. If I would have been ejected, I think I would have understood. Because Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, you're having games and it's more easy going. And then it all starts for real on Thursday.
Starts amping up.
And we were told by Chris in particular that it was going to amp up. And I was like, yeah. But on Thursday, he was so right and I was so wrong because I got super competitive. And I had a notebook where I kept the lineup and other notes about my kids and stuff. And I was displeased at a call that I felt was incorrect. I was near the first base spot. I turned
Was this
around.
an out call?
Yes.
Okay.
And 100% I spiked my notebook into the ground out of disgust. And at some point decided I needed to go sit in the dugout on my own because I did not handle things super well.
I
There
love that you
is
benched yourself.
one more thing I need to tell you that was also not very Christian-y. There was an inning where I felt very strongly as though we had recorded 3 outs. Half of my team started to run off the field because they also thought we had recorded 3 outs. We were then informed we only had recorded 2 outs, which I disagreed with. And the way I handled it, that was not good, was the next batter came up and I go, all right, guys, one more. Everybody gets 4 outs. Everybody gets 4 outs today. So Chris, Audrey, Scott, probably Rolf. I wanted to apologize to all of you for being very, very competitive.
But this is your first mission trip,
Right.
and we mixed two passions.
Yes.
And navigating those can be hard. I mean, Wes is historically a very competitive person. We often have to calm him down when we're doing sport games here at the office.
I did significantly better Friday
That's
and
not
Saturday.
true.
Oh, it's not?
No. But what I will say, a part of the story Kevin didn't share, which I thought was cool, was he went to his team after and apologized to him.
There you go.
And I was like, to me, that's maturity, where you just go,
Yeah, we all screw
we
up.
all have moments.
We all have our moments.
Listen,
So we meet after every single game, and I met with my team, and I was like, look, the number one thing I want to tell you, more important than anything else we're going to say about the game, is I apologize. I do not think I represented you guys correctly today, so please forgive me, and I will be better going forward. And I was way better on Friday and Saturday.
There you go. And what was your what team like actual Major League Baseball team?
We were the Reds.
You were the Reds. Okay.
Yes, also known as the champions of the older division.
Listen, I'm a Rangers fan first, but my second team is the Reds.
Oh,
I lived in Cincinnati.
Okay.
And I will say, all due respect to the Texas Rangers baseball team, opening day in Cincinnati, very different experience than opening day here in Texas.
sure.
I mean, they have a lot of history there. The whole town shuts down. It's pretty spectacular.
I feel like we've been getting better around
100%.
here.
I just, like, having lived there and gone through that, I was like, this is what, no wonder
Yeah.
people make such a big deal about opening day.
can I ask you a different question about Germany?
For sure.
What was your favorite part of Germany? Like you started off with like your worst moment in Germany, but there were
Okay,
9 other
moments.
days.
So
I love the Savannah Bananas jersey that you had. That was a full outfit. It
Yeah,
was
my
pretty good.
favorite moment was when Wes and Jason texted me at literally the exact same time
I believe you sent it to him.
because from Scott I borrowed a giant gold chain that said baseball on it.
Baseball.
And sometimes when I'm walking around, I have a not friendly look on my face. I don't mean to be not friendly. That's just kind of my resting base. My younger son has that exact same look on his face as well. So yes, they texted me the same Photoshop at the exact same time.
Thank you, ChatGPT.
It was the kids. Like shout out to Beata, Uli, and Charlotta. Our host home was amazing. We said, my wife and I, she went with me. We said we felt like we hit the host home lottery.
Oh, yeah, they're great.
But my kids, like I learned so much from them, and I was going to point something out on my phone. I now have an app on my phone that I did not know what it was before. It's called Signal.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So we were using most things through WhatsApp, and one of my kids, Tim, when we finished, we went on a sightseeing tour that last Saturday. He ran up to me because he came on the tour and he goes, "Kevin, I have my WhatsApp number. Can I put it into your phone?" And I was like, "Sure." And then he was telling me, he was like another one of our players, Johan. He goes, "Johan wants to talk to you, but his parents don't allow him to have WhatsApp. Do you have Signal?" And I said, "I'm sorry, I have no idea what that is."
Yeah.
And so I've been talking with Johan on Signal, with Tim on WhatsApp, and
I love that.
My players, I just fell in love with them. And I will admit, I'm competitive. I don't want to make it sound like this is the only reason I got competitive, but I definitely got more competitive because you could see how like the losing, even in the short term, was making them sad. And at one point, one of our kids cried because I thought it was a really great heads up slide move. And then he was ruled safe, but then they went over and said sliding's against the rules and he got ruled out.
Right.
And he was really upset. He felt like he let the team down, but it was so great. There were 3 things that immediately stick out to me on Monday. So the very first day we're doing games out there. One of my players, Lennox, he made this unbelievable catch in left field. Like he was like diving, caught it like snow cone style almost.
Blonde head kid.
No, he had dark hair actually. There's another kid out there, at least one named Lennox, who's like a stud. He was not.
He was on my team.
He
2
could
years
hit the
ago.
ball 6,000
Yeah, yeah.
miles. Yeah. This is a different one. He was actually the neighbor of my host home, but he made this unbelievable catch, and luckily it was a third out. Every single person on the team like ran and rushed him.
Yeah.
And like they had just won the championship. And just as an aside, I asked him, I was like, hey, your neighbor's with my host home. He just looked at me and he goes, no. And I go, Beata and Uli? And he goes, yes. And it just like, that's all it took for him to be like, I don't think so, too. Yes.
That's cool.
And then on Thursday night, Lara, Marta, Johan, and Lennox all sat with me during dinner. And even when dinner was done and you get like some free time before we go back, they all just sat with me because I told them I was working on my German, and they all just sat with me and went over all of these German phrases and everything like that. And then on Friday night, this probably ended up being my favorite moment is, we have a service every evening, and toward the end, like after we'd kind of gone through the message and stuff, you do a couple of extra songs to wrap things up. And one of the songs, several of my kids just stood up and linked arms, and then a couple of them went up and linked arms with them. And then, so I stood up and linked arms with them. And I've got some pictures that some people took of all we're just kind of like swaying back and forth, singing the song, and we've got our arms linked together. And it was really, really cool.
Yeah, I think one of the things, if you don't go on a trip like this, like I've experienced this in Spain, in Africa, in Germany, sometimes we look at relational interaction as I can't wait to get this over with.
Yeah, I'm guilty of that.
They value that time. And so if they get the opportunity to sit and have a conversation, that is time that they love. And so to sit there at dinner with you, like it's such a cool thing and such a great vehicle for things like the gospel, because they're willing to sit and have a conversation. They're willing to sit and chat with you. And I find that in most places of the world, we're so predetermined to like, I got to get somewhere. I got to do something. And sometimes that robs us of the relationship. But man, I want to say, I'm super proud of you for going. We love our missional partners there in Heidenheim.
They were the best.
Oh, they are fantastic.
I thank Rolf for tolerating me.
Yeah, and Rolf's a great guy. Like he was the guy from that church. Like it was his vision to get this started. And we originally weren't partnered with that church. Like there's this whole other story.
I did hear that story.
So it was really cool just that we're there with them now. And now we're 4 years in. As a matter of fact, Charlotta, did she tell you like when she came here, she was without luggage for?
Yeah. Oh no, she didn't. She did tell me she was here.
Yeah, the entire trip.
Oh, she did not tell me that.
So like people went and bought her, like it got lost by the airlines and they did not find. I think it got delivered to her back in Germany.
Yep.
And
oh my gosh.
So like she kind of worked through stuff.
Provided for.
Oh yeah, sure. She was awesome with it. Like there were a few moments where it kind of like disappointed her, but like she just kind of kept her head up, and she's an amazing young adult over there in Germany, and man, you were at a good host home. That's great.
They were unbelievable. I did make a mistake with my kids because we got so close, and it was like, you guys going to come back next year? And they're like, yeah. And I said, I'll tell you what, you guys come back next year and I'll have learned German. So that night when
big promise.
That night when we're driving home, just in my head, I'm like, that was really dumb. Why didn't you say, I'll have learned some German? Nope.
I made and we probably should get to the podcast at some point, but the rest of the podcast, but I made a promise to a student in Germany when I left that I was scared for a year that was going to happen. I said if he came on the German trip to America, I would tattoo his name on my head.
Oh, I feel like that needs to.
Well, he didn't come, so it's over. That bet is over.
We can get him over here.
I don't know if Ruben was there, but
if we flew him over now,
no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, I would have helped pay for that.
2 questions: would you tattoo it? Would you let him tattoo it?
Well, I would definitely not the second, and definitely also not the first.
What if we did it on your head so you grow your hair out over it?
I can't grow my hair out, Jason. That's the problem. I don't know why that was like. That's not shocking news to anybody watching the audio feed of this.
In other episodes, not in this one. But it was as cool as you guys described. And, maybe this is another podcast for another day if people just want to hear specifically about Germany, because we talk about the all year round Christmas store and everything. But that we went to go see was really cool. The last thing I want to say, the last day I was there doing baseball, because we had to leave a day early because Jess was starting school as a teacher once again for the first time since Noah was born. I told the kids on Friday, I was like, hey, I'm not going to be there on Sunday for service and for the medals. And they were like, oh no. And one of them, Giannis, who does not really speak English at all, he looked at me and he goes, this is not good. And I just really appreciated that. But then Tim and Sophia, I caught up with them after the game and everything. And Tim was like, hey, maybe I could be your team buddy next year. And so team buddy, for people that don't know, we had 3 of them. They were Johnny, Lily, and David. They were all awesome. Preston was also coach of the team. He was tremendous as well. And they're Germans who speak, really good English. And he was like, maybe I could be one of your team buddies. And then I talked with Sophia and she's like, I'm too old to play again next year. I was like, what about being a team buddy? She was like, oh yeah, can I be your team buddy? And so I bonded with the kids so much. And if nothing else, and there were so many other things, but if nothing else, that part made me very, very happy.
And you skim past this real quick, but quick shout out to Jess, your wife, who was like kind of helping with like cheerleading and stuff there. And I've seen tons of pictures, like it looked like she was having an amazing time.
She definitely feared injury at one point, but luckily one night's rest was able to clear that up. She did such a good job mentoring the younger ones. And I know she said she doesn't have like a huge cheer and dance background, but I'll tell you what she did that blew everybody away is she has that teacher organizational background, and she was able to make it so everyone had these like special bows in their hair. Not you and I, Wes, we couldn't do that. But they had the special bows in their hair, and she put together different like arts and crafts to go along with their cheers that they loved. That's so cool. She did phenomenal. And I just feel like going on that trip with her was like very special and different for us.
Yeah, man. I
love that.
Really cool. I gotten to go on mission trip a couple of times with my wife, and very, very special times. Matter of fact, I really want to go again. I really want to get Crystal to Africa, which I think would be fantastic.
Well, we pressured one person on this podcast to go on a mission. Hey, so we can do it again.
It worked.
Yeah.
And apparently I'm invited back. So woo-hoo.
I love it. Very cool.
Now, today I met Jesus. We're going with Peter and Andrew, correct?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
You want to start in Luke?
Yeah, we're going to start in Luke chapter 5, and we're very used to talking about Peter's life background as we get deeper into it.
This is the background. This section of the podcast. Right before I'm going to read and be interrupted again.
But in his life, there's this like really cool moment at the very beginning, and to be honest, it kind of reveals a lot of like what it's like to start to follow Christ, and the courage that it takes to follow Christ. So we get a glimpse of this. We're going to look at a couple of different places where you kind of get some, because again, it's called I Met Jesus. There's obviously a ton of Peter's life that we can talk about later on, but these are kind of the initiating moments. Like it's a little bit like, I mean, I'm a big like movie buff, especially like when you like Marvel stuff, and when you get those like origin story moments, and this is kind of like the spiritual,
collecting the disciples.
Yeah, it's like the spiritual origin story of like how were the Avengers assembled? Who got them first? It's like it's this, but it's the disciples, and it's their kind of first moments with Jesus, which to me is very cool. So there you go.
Luke chapter 5.
Yep. Luke chapter 5. As the crowd was pressing in on Jesus to hear God's word, he was standing by Lake Gennesaret. He saw 2 boats at the edge of the lake. The fishermen had left them and were washing their nets. He got into one of the boats, which belonged to Simon, and asked him to put out a little from the land. Then he sat down and was teaching the crowds from the boat. When he had finished speaking, he said to Simon, "Put out in the deep water and let down your nets for a catch." "Master," Simon replied, "we've worked hard all night and caught nothing, but if you say so, I'll let down the nets." When they did this, they caught a great number of fish, and their nets began to tear. So they signaled to their partners in the other boat to come and help them. They came and filled both boats so full that they began to sink. When Simon Peter saw this, he fell at Jesus' knees and said, "Go away from me, because I am a sinful man, Lord." For he and all those with him were amazed at the catch of fish they had taken. And so were James and John, Zebedee's sons, who were Simon's partners. "Don't be afraid," Jesus told Simon. "From now on you will be catching people." Then they brought the boats to land, left everything, and followed him.
Good job, Jason.
Hey, man, we made it all the way through. I think that's fantastic. So what stands out to you guys first about this? Kevin, you normally field some questions.
I was ready, Kevin.
Yeah.
It's pretty straightforward. Not easy, but pretty straightforward.
Yeah, sorry. Something that popped in the back of my head is we definitely have multiple fish stories. But I know that's not really what we're focused on.
But it is going to be relevant in this.
Okay. It's another example of I was going to say, maybe you guys will disagree with this. I was going to say how quickly people acknowledge Jesus as being Jesus, but maybe that's not the right way to put it, seeing as though he needed to see something first to kind of acknowledge. Do you think he was quick to acknowledge Jesus, or do you think this is a situation where you're like, well, sure, he acknowledged Jesus, he was the Lord, but only once he was like, oh, you did something?
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, I think, yes, like we know, especially early on in his ministry, Jesus is constantly establishing who he is and his divinity by doing miracles, signs, and wonders. And so like you get that even later on when Peter preaches in Acts chapter 2, he literally says, you guys know Jesus, who God revealed to you through miracles, signs, and wonders. So like this is one of those miracles, because otherwise you've just got a guy who's been, hanging out with his dad, Joe, as a carpenter at the age of 30, and then starts walking around saying, "I'm the Messiah." And you go, well, you're Joe's boy, ain't you?
Yeah.
It's like, and so there's some things that God's going to do to like really set apart who Jesus is. And it's in close proximity geographically. So like we've talked about before, like word begins to spread. But interestingly for me, like there's a couple of different fishing things here that are incredibly relevant in the life of Peter. One that's going to happen here, and one that's just going to be a moment that Jesus is going to use to connect later in life. And so the first one is this, and because I thought this was fascinating. I didn't get much of a chance to kind of do a deep dive on this, but there was a couple of things that I was studying through, and one was really related to fishing. Now, I will go ahead and acknowledge I am not a master fisherman. It's not a thing that I spend a lot of time doing. I have gone fishing. As a matter of fact, my wife does not like seafood at all. But when we were in Florida one time, me and my buddy caught some redfish, and it was like, I mean, super, super, super fresh. And we grilled it, and it was the only seafood I've ever seen my wife eat and enjoy. So there was that. But my buddy Tom is a big fisherman. Like if you asked him to explain to you, I would be asleep fast, but Tom would be very passionate to tell you all the things about fishing. So there's some things in here that if you're not a fisherman, you don't understand. And if you don't know the geography, which is like, it tells you the lake, and that is a very important factor here. It doesn't feel like it is, but it is when you think about what Jesus is going to ask them. So why is this such a miracle? Is it a miracle simply because there was a lot of fish? Well, they've probably had big catches of fish before.
Yeah.
But here's what I was kind of reading, is this was a lake that was traditionally fished at night. So that's why they are there. Because at night, everything cools off, the surface of the water cools off, and all of the fish come to the surface because of the cooler water. But the reason they don't fish during the day is as it heats up and the water heats up, the fish go incredibly deep, and you really can't get to them anymore. Like their nets don't go down that far. And so the fish are going to like dive down to this place that it's going to make them really hard to get. Like you would consider it like a dumb move to like even try to fish at this point. They would do nighttime fishing. So that's the reason they've been out fishing all night. It's not like, hey, some of the boys got together and we decided to hang out all night fishing. This was probably the normal rhythm of life for them. And then they go fish, and of course he tells them to go out to deep water, which is where the fish is going to be, but they would never have fished in that kind of water. Their nets don't go that deep. The fish during the daytime would not have been close enough to the surface in any of this area. It would have been completely pointless to try to get to these fish.
It feels like Simon Peter's about to go down that avenue when he's like, we just did this earlier. But then the way he immediately is like, but you know what? You said so let's do it.
Yeah, which is the area of obedience to me that is such a cool thing, because he's going, functionally, I know better than you here, but I'm going to consider that maybe there's some other level you understand things that is different than me. It'd be like if we got a buddy of ours, Mike Martin, here that works on airplanes. He knows everything about airplanes. Like, I'm not walking into his office going, you know what? Here's what you should do for propulsion. Like, he's going to go like, Jason, with all due respect, you don't have any clue what you're talking about. And it would be real easy for Peter to go to that approach. But for some reason, and I don't know if it's what he's heard about him or what, but he's just like, you know what? And I love this, because he's kind of saying, like, I don't know if this is going to work, but if you say so.
Yeah.
And I love that part of the text where how often is God going to go, hey, I need you to do something. And you go, man, that doesn't seem like anything that's going to work. But if you say so, I'll go do it. Like, it's obedience greater than like what I think is the right plan. Because so often what we think is the right plan, like, God literally wants to put us in a place to receive a miracle. And in order to do that, it's going to be in an unusual circumstance. Otherwise, it's not a miracle. Like, it's just life. Like, if they went out fishing at night and pulled up a bunch of fish in their normal areas, they wouldn't go, oh, a miracle of a catch. It was the circumstances that Jesus put them in that created the opportunity for the miracle.
Is there one more thing I can throw out that I thought was really fascinating? Because we've seen this in several of our discussions. If you go to verse 8, Simon Peter, when he sees this, he's like, hey, I need you to go. I need to go. I'm not worthy to be around you. And it is fascinating how many people say that time and time and time again. Is like, oh my gosh, you really are Jesus. I don't know what you're doing here with me. And I think that's a struggle that, like, in 2025, a lot of us kind of carry to a certain extent.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think for me, it's like a reminder of, like, following Jesus starts with his grace. Because, like, Simon Peter's confession here is true. Like, he is unworthy, right? He immediately, like, he yells something that is true. Like, he falls and he's like, go away from me, I'm not worthy. And Jesus in his grace is going to go, okay, follow me anyway.
Yeah.
And I
Peter's going, go away from me, and Jesus is going, come to me.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, and that's, like, one of the cool things about this text, that it'd be very different than, so, like, traditionally people would ask to follow rabbis. So, like, if I was trying to grow in my faith in the first century and I wanted to be trained under the rabbi Jason Collins, I would approach Jason and I would say, teach me, lead me. And it would be on me to initiate that. So just the fact that Jesus is doing this, where he's going, I'm going to call people to follow me, is totally counterculture to what they would have seen. But one of the things that I love the most about this text is Jesus's love for the crowd and love for the individual. So, like, he gets on the boat because the crowd is pressing in, but he doesn't get on the boat to escape the crowd. It says he begins to teach the crowd from the boat. And then his attention focuses to the one. And I think it was just I don't know, we see that this model of ministry in Jesus' ministry, we've talked about it a bunch, of just like, he's got a ministry to the crowd, but also so focused on individuals. I don't know, it's just a really cool thing to think about.
Well, and you think about Peter's confession, it's such a picture of the difference between a religious confession and a Christian confession. So like their experience at that time prior to Jesus is through the scribes and the Pharisees, who all taught righteousness through what?
Works.
Through works. You gotta fulfill the law. And so when Peter says, man, I've now met the Messiah, he immediately attributes the same sort of living a life trying to balance on scales that he thinks of through the Pharisees. And he goes like, oh, I'm terrible, and now I've met this one who is miraculous and clearly Master and Lord. And he's like, I'm not worthy. I haven't done enough good stuff to even be in your presence. And Jesus is going, essentially like it was never about you doing enough good stuff. I need you to come follow me. It's going to be what I do for you, not what you do for me. And that's something that gets so twisted in our culture. We constantly think it's like God is somehow deficient, and if only we would finally do stuff to fulfill him, then God would be fulfilled. And that's not at all the truth. God does not want for anything right now. He is deficient in no area of his existence right now. And so he doesn't need us to fill anything in him. We need him to fill everything in us.
How vital is it that is spelled out so well time and again? Because I feel like, especially for people who are not familiar with the Bible, it would be so easy to say, well, I'm a good person or I do good things, and so that should be good enough. Like, that's a trap I bet a lot of people.
Absolutely. But even as believers today, like we fall into this same trap. Even when you intellectually explain it is the grace of Jesus that saves you, people still almost feel like, yeah, but I got to do something. Like right. And the truth is we do have to do something. But here's the thing. We don't do something to earn the salvation. We are saved, and then we long to do something. Like that we've used this analogy before, but it's like my obedience to my relationship with Crystal, my wife, is not I was obedient, so she married me. It's we got married and and we're in a committed covenant, and now I want to be obedient to her needs and vice versa. And so it's driven by devotion and desire, not by obligation and guilt. And one is a status of earning, and the other one is I've already earned, or not earned. I didn't earn anything. I was gifted grace, and now I can operate in freedom and enjoy doing the things. I'm not doing anything to earn salvation or to earn God's love. I'm already saved and I'm already loved, and now I can feel free to go and contribute to these things without that external pressure. But as easy as that is to say, it's really hard to get our head around because we're so used to a culture and environment of like, if you do something nice for me, now I got to do something nice for you. And we're constantly, we're talk about competitive nature earlier. We're constantly keeping score, even with other people.
I will admit there have been probably too many times to count where I have done something and I've been like, oh yeah, what a nice person I am, or what a good person I am. And I'm like, well, that's not really the point. Like, you're not supposed to do it because you're like, now I can be proud of myself for being good and being nice. But I've definitely felt that way.
Oh, you're like in your marriage, you're like, oh, I wonder if Crystal noticed that I did some laundry this morning, and we'll see how that goes.
Is that a real life example right now?
No, absolutely not.
So she would notice.
Crystal, you can talk and it picks up some of it.
No, but my point is, like, you're doing something. If you're sitting there going, I want recognition, then you're probably doing it from the wrong motivation.
Yeah.
There's a part of this, and I'm going to take a stab at something, and I will admittedly go, I have not deep dove on this, so I may be totally off base. But verse 9.
Deep dove.
Unlike the fisherman.
Sounds weird. We're wrong in my
say
ear.
divin?
Deep devoted. Deep doved. Dived.
You haven't done a deep dive.
This is where I wish we had video. Sorry, go ahead.
I can't say anything serious on this podcast because it's always interrupted with a joke. So, point.
And God bless you, Crystal.
That's the best response to that. For he and all those with him, this is Peter, were amazed at the catch of the fish they had taken. Into verse 10, don't be afraid, Jesus told Simon. And I just thought about this idea of like, Peter sees Jesus do this amazing thing, and there is a danger, honestly, I'm thinking about it in the life of our church right now, of being amazed by what God does and being paralyzed by it and doing nothing. Because Jesus is going to give him a next step. He's going to go, from now on, you'll be fishers of men is a way better phrase.
Catching people?
Yeah, mine says you'll be fishing for people.
Yeah, that's better than catching people. But I think just this idea of like, Peter is in awe. So maybe they've had big catches before, but something about this catch was radically different. Yeah. But he saw something amazing, and there was actually a chance that his fear paralyzed him, and nothing happens. Because Jesus jumps in that moment and goes, don't be afraid. There's a plan. I'm going to use you. You're going to be fishers of men. But there is, I don't know, you see it all over the world, like where God moves in incredible ways, but then nothing happens on the backside. And I think some of it's because we're like, oh, that was really cool. And we do nothing with it. And like that. And right now we're seeing an incredible move of God in our church. But one of the things we're talking about as a staff all the time is like, how do we make sure that we're faithful to like respond to what God is doing?
Do you guys feel at all that people feel the pressure to have to match the thing they've seen? So what I was just thinking about with what you just said is you'll be fishing for people, for men, however you want to say it is, that can be as simple as you go talk to one person and you get them to believe in and accept Jesus Christ. But like, don't we all fall into the trap of, well, I mean, he made something almost impossible. I can't do that. Instead of getting that one person is kind of like a miracle.
Yeah, I think a couple of things. Maybe this isn't something that Peter recognized. It jumped out to me as like he had him go fish in an impossible scenario, and and came back successfully. And and then he tells him he's going to go fish for men. And I almost wonder if there's like part of the image here of like, hey, you're going to catch some people that it seems very unlikely that you're ever going to catch. Like you're going to see hordes of people at times that it doesn't seem likely, and then you fast forward to like the day of Pentecost and 3,000 people are saved in a single day, and the church explodes and goes nuts, and thousands of people are saved, and I think part of this maybe is sending Peter a message of like there's going to be a consistency, and Peter's not going to get it, not for over 3 years, but that you're going to
on and off,
right? But you're going to consistently see the unexpected happen, because I don't know if what was miraculous about the catch was the quantity or the circumstance. Yep. And I think there's a lot of times when people are in a certain place in life, and you go, man, I don't know what circumstances it would take to ever reach that person, but that would be a miracle. So, like to your point, I think sometimes there is a huge miracle in the quantity, and sometimes there's a miracle in the circumstance. Like there are people all of us know that we would go, man, if they suddenly became legitimately surrender their life to Jesus, you'd be like,
that's a big get for God.
Holy cow. Yeah. Like, I mean, that's how a lot of people feel. Like when you look at like Paul, they're like, "Oh man, that's a huge get," as if God couldn't have used anybody else.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, there are some people that seem like so in opposition of the things of God that when they change, I mean, we baptized a couple of weeks ago. We baptized a couple that they spent over 20 years in a relationship, and a good. I mean, they're in a marriage and stuff, but they met as atheists and lived as atheists together until they were both baptized on the same Sunday here 2 weeks ago.
Oh wow!
And like you go, like no one's seeing that coming. Like that's not anticipated. Wow. Like they didn't even see that coming, and yet God did that. And I just go, man. For me, it's not about quantity, and it's real easy, especially in modern church era, to always think in terms of quantity. And I'm not saying the quantity doesn't matter. I hope God saves everybody. I mean, I hope people open up their hearts like crazy and numbers like just completely insane. But each one matters to God. I mean, you get pictures of that even in Jesus' parables of like God leaving the 99 to go after the one. And so it's hard for us to think like that. We tend to think about salvation in bulk. Like we like the Costco approach to salvation, but there's a lot of times it's more of the convenience store approach of God's going after the one thing he's looking for right now.
Yeah, I wonder if some of what he's saying is like, you thought it was amazing that I could do this with fish.
Yeah.
Like, there's
go catch people, man.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And in 3.5 years or so, you're going to preach a message and 3,000 people are going to like change the direction of their life.
Yeah.
And I think like, you just think about like Peter's life. It's easy for us. We know Peter's life after this, but in this moment where God's going, Jesus is going, you think like this is one of the smallest, most insignificant things that I'm going to do with you over the next 3 years. And what you see, and like you said this earlier, you asked this question earlier, Kevin, of like, is it amazing like how fast they acknowledge Jesus? To me, that's not the part that blows me away. It's that how fast they follow him.
Yeah.
So like, you know, Shane talked about this in the Sermon Sunday, but like even the demons believe, right? Like there are demons that Jesus will interact with that immediately acknowledge who he is. But it's so crazy to me, and we're going to talk about this. We talk about the disciples more over the next few weeks, is like how fast they are in obedience. And they go, I will follow.
Yeah, what I love about how fast they are is they don't fully understand it yet. Right. I think we live in a culture where like, okay, I'll be super devoted to God once all the things of God make sense to me. Yeah. And that's a cultural thing.
You God,
right?
To be clear,
but that's such a cultural thing. Is like we're such a, and I think to kind of maybe this was true then because you know first thing he tells Peter is don't be afraid. But like we start out with like, well, share the gospel. Well, what if I don't know enough? Like there's a fear of I don't know enough, or how they respond, or what if I don't know how to respond, or like we lead with fear constantly, and instead of going, you know what, I'm just going to act on what I know. Let's just start somewhere.
Here's what I know: this dude just walked up and said, "Throw my net over there," and a bunch of fish swam in.
Yeah.
I'm going to do what he says.
Good enough. And you've talked about that. You guys have both talked about that in services before. People are worried about engaging with sometimes anybody because they're like, what if they ask a question that I don't know the answer to? And so I like that you threw it out there. Is just even starting the conversation can be a huge deal.
It really.
Because you know what a great answer is if you don't know the answer?
Let's go find the person who does.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
Great answer. Like.
Turns out I'm not
We're
God.
not Google or God.
And so like there may be something that I go, you know what? I don't know right off the top of my. I mean, the Bible is got a lot of information in it. There are times when people go, what does this mean? And I go, gosh, I'll have to look that up. That's okay. Like that doesn't mean that I don't love the Lord.
And you're not a failure.
Right, absolutely. Even though I'm a pastor, right? Like there's like you can still ask me a question where I'm like, whew, I've got to think about that one.
Yeah.
And so I love the immediacy of him of these guys like wanting to jump into it without like they didn't go to a class, they didn't go to a school, they didn't go to a program. Like Jesus didn't say, now come follow me and sign up for Wednesday night coursework. Like and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I think those are wonderful things and helps grow our faith. But we in the Western church especially have defaulted to following Christ means going to class instead of going into ministry.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think like just if we're trying to learn from Jesus' model of ministry, what that means for us is like it's hard to get off your mind what God is doing like at Crossroads in real time.
It's crazy.
That, you know, you baptize 36 people and then over 25 people respond the next week to the gospel. And like what our response should be as believers, as mature believers, is to look at some of those people and go, follow me.
Yeah.
Like, let me walk with you.
But I don't know everything. That's okay.
It's
Follow
okay.
me.
Like that person who stood up on your row this week that responded to Jesus, so like go up to them and go, hey, I'm not perfect, but I'm trying to follow Jesus at my best. Follow him with me.
Yeah. Because how did the disciples end up learning?
They followed Jesus. They walked with him.
They didn't learn in order to follow.
Yeah.
They followed in order to learn.
Yeah. You know, there's all sorts of great, to your point, this is a soapbox issue for me probably, but like we can offer all sorts of classes, but the best class that you can go to in discipleship is to follow somebody further along in their faith that's really following Jesus well.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, that's what Paul said in the New Testament. They're like, what do I do? And he goes, follow me as I follow Christ.
Yep.
You know, that's a great way to illustrate it. And I would just say, and this is just a pause, because it is, and I know you've been in Germany, so you guys missed some of this, but in the last 3 weeks, some insane things have happened here. Mm-hmm. 3 weeks ago, I stood up and I just felt compelled to challenge our church that in the next 12 months, I wanted to see if we could baptize 101 people. And I kind of gave some little bit of information of like why that number and why 101. I said 101 because I just like the idea of the thought that like there's always room for one more. And so I didn't give it just a 100. It's a nice clean number. I was like 101.
Wasn't a Dalmatian based decision?
Yeah, it was. It was a Disney based decision. But the next week, We ended up baptizing 36.
Wow.
The next week, 25 responded to the gospel. If we baptize all of them, we'll be 2 weeks after that message with 61 people having already gone through that. Like, that's nuts. Like, that's literally in the average church in America, that's more than a decade of time that would take to get to that. And that was
7 days.
2 weeks. Yeah, that was literally a 7-day period in our church. Like, and I've talked to people that have been in church. This is what it means to follow Christ. Like, this is what Peter's going to ultimately live in as
This
he
is
follows
why we
Jesus.
do what we do. Go be fishers of men.
Yes, and what's great is like we're not the critical component here. We just get to share, but we don't change lives. Like I've never saved a person in my entire life.
Right.
Jesus saves them. We just get to present the gospel. We basically just like throw the bait in the water, and then Jesus does everything else, and it's really incredible. But like I've talked to people that have been in church 30, 40, 50 years, and they're like, I've never seen this in my lifetime. And I did a little social media video on this, don't let it be lost on you. We should be grateful to God. This isn't normal. You don't get to see this. And we've gotten to see that. And I don't think we're close to done with what's going to happen. And I don't know, it's been a pretty crazy series, but it's also been a series weirdly that reminds me of the calling of the disciples, because it's like, strip away all the stuff. All you've got is where you are today and following Jesus, and that's enough.
Can I ask both of you guys a question? And I hope it's about what you were just saying, and I hope it doesn't take us too far off track. Not that you ever waver in your faith, but do things like this ever pick you up at a time when you're like, man, is okay.
Sorry.
But that's good.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you knew where I was going, where you're like,
I have both been down and been picked up in my faith many, many times.
Just like if you're like, man, this is what we're trying to build here, this is what we're trying to do, like, do things like that help pick you up at a time where you've ever felt like, man, I think we're doing the right thing, but it's just not resonating?
Yes. I mean, we've had an unbelievable 10 years, and yet Satan knows how to attack me. And for me, it's between my ears. And it wasn't very long ago where there were some moments in my life where I was going, am I still useful here? And the very next series we go into, this is what's happening. And I know I'm not the key by any means. I've been around me my entire life, and I know I'm pretty much just a knucklehead that has been saved, and God's given me a gift to communicate. But there's lots of people that give to communicate that like lives don't get changed. Like I have a gift to communicate, and I don't change any lives. I just get to communicate, and then God changes lives. And if you get that wrong, it goes real bad real fast.
Yeah.
But it's been it's like, and again, nobody put those thoughts in my head. That's just how Satan knows to come at me. And so yeah, for moments like this, it's like, okay, for me, it's almost like God's going like, Jason, I'm not done with you. Like you there's still plenty that I need. I not need. God doesn't need me for anything, but want to use you for.
And you answered that immediately.
Yeah, I can have issues between my ears also. I think in working in student ministry for so long, like you're used to like a rhythm of like camp high. You know, there's like all these built-in moments where honestly, if we're not careful, we can manufacture kind of the Spirit of God feeling to make us feel good. And now in my role in care ministry, I feel like I'm just mostly in oddly serious conversations every day. So sometimes that can like wear me down. And like it's cool to see in these moments where we don't get promised these. We're not guaranteed these.
Yeah.
Some people, some disciples, some great Christian leaders spent their whole life never seeing the hand of God move.
Absolutely.
So like we're fortunate and blessed and grateful that we get to see it. But it does feel, one of my friends uses the term God winks. It almost feels like God is just going, yeah, don't wink at me. That's weird. There's no video though. But just the idea of like God is present, and it just being reminded that even though in some of the monotony or the day-to-day or in my personal forgetfulness that God is moving, just these moments of being reminded, man, God is at work. Like, I mean, there was a story Sunday. I know you noticed this, we didn't even talk about it, but just a guy I've been praying for a decade responded to the gospel on Sunday. And it's like, how does that happen?
Yeah.
Like, and you just never just can't get over being blown away by the Spirit of God. So,
Yeah.
So yeah, I can ride the emotional train if I'm not careful, like the roller coaster, but
Well, and let's be honest, like even what we're seeing right now, like it's predominantly adults that are making decisions right now. And that's
Sunday
not,
was predominantly adult men.
yes. And here's what's crazy about that. Like that is not to discount when a decision is made by a child or a student. But when you're a child or a student, your life is in a state of change and finding your path and all that stuff. That's normal. When you're 30, 40, 50, 60 years old, changing course at that point in life, it like to me is miraculous.
Yeah.
Like it's not common. It's not normal. You don't often see a 50-year-old, 60-year-old go, you know what? I want to fundamentally change my life, surrender my life to Jesus and turn and go, which is what repentance means, turn and go in a different way. So when you see that, you have to sit back there and go, that is insanely miraculous.
Right.
Like that's like people, like we say this, people don't change. And so when you see a person change, that in and of itself to me is evidence of the hand of God, because we are such creatures of habit. It's so much easier to just stay the same, do the same stuff, like just be like, you gotta accept me for who I am. And like, that kind of mentality, those kind of phrases go through our head. And so when somebody stands up and goes, man, I want to surrender my life to Christ and change course at that age, there's something unique about it, like something really powerful about it.
Do you guys want to move into John now to kind of continue us on this path, or?
I do.
Okay.
But did you have something else you wanted to say on that passage? Okay. What is that weird face you're making that we can't see on video?
Sorry, Wes. I also thought it was a weird face.
Oh, thank you.
I was being time aware. That's what I'm going to say. That somehow it took us an hour to get through 10 verses, and we're about to introduce more verses. So.
Well, there's really one main thing I want to point out in this next one that
we can go 2 hours. Like I
fine.
just want to say, I love this podcast.
Yeah.
I love everything we talk about. I'm
All
not
right.
bored. I am fine to talk about the rest of the Bible for the rest of the night.
All right. You like the Bible?
I love it.
That's good.
All right.
Can somebody tell me where we are? John.
John
1.
chapter 1,
Thank you.
35 through 42.
Okay. Do you want me to read it?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Okay.
That's your deal, man.
Everybody say a prayer for Jason tonight.
You gonna murder me? Is that what you're just saying?
I don't think he
Was that a
means him.
threat?
I didn't say anything.
I don't think
Crystal,
he
you didn't
means
hear it.
him.
The next day, John was standing with 2 of his disciples. When he saw Jesus passing by, he said, "Look, the Lamb of God." The 2 disciples heard him say this and followed Jesus. When Jesus turned and noticed them following him, he asked, "What are you looking for?" They said to him, "Rabbi," which means teacher, "where are you staying? Come and you'll see." He replied. So they went and saw where he was staying, and they stayed with him that day. It was about 4 p.m. Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, was one of the 2 who heard John and followed him. He first found his own brother Simon and told him, "We have found the Messiah," which is translated the Christ. And he brought Simon to Jesus. When Jesus saw him, he said, "You are Simon, son of John. You will be called Cephas," which is translated Peter.
So obviously the first thing I note, and I know you guys were talking about this in the last story, but here is you were joking about the origin. Here is the name change right here. And then the other thing I have to know, because I've become, like the way y'all have described it, epically fascinated with little nuances that I might have normally just blown off. Is there any particular reason that I need to know that it is 4:00 in the afternoon?
I did not look too deep into that
Okay.
part.
I've
sucked
now
into
become
something else.
sure that
No,
every single
I-
thing I need to find out about every
I love
detail.
these questions. 'cause
It's great.
Sometimes I'm like, I just did the thing that you normally do. I just read past it. Like it's 4 p.m.
Yeah, and there's probably is some sort of significance there, but I did not dig into that.
Okay. And I like your translation. I believe it was verse 38. What do you seek?
What are you looking for?
What are you looking for? So there can be like some slight changes, and that sounds a lot friendlier than mine says, "What do you want?" Which doesn't have to be a negative, but like in my
Great
head,
question, though.
in my head, I hear it the way like maybe sometimes
What
I
do you
have
want?
said it in my life,
Right.
and so I like that translation significantly better.
Well, I like that the answer to that is come and you'll see.
Yes.
Again, there's always this inviting into a relationship, and that's what Jesus does so beautifully. And again, you have this moment where you kind of see, how does Jesus even end up with Peter? And it's because his brother, Andrew, gets to meet Jesus, and it doesn't give us a whole lot of detail about what that interaction is like, but it's so significant that Andrew immediately becomes an evangelist. Like, he immediately wants other people to meet this man. So there's something so different about Jesus that he's like, you've got to meet him.
Yep.
And so he goes and introduces him to his brother, who, when we first meet him, his name is Simon, and there's a couple of different translation issues here that some people would say, like, and so I looked into several of these because the nuance that I wanted to dig into is the name. And I've always heard one translation, but turns out it may not be the most accurate one. So some people believe that Simon basically means like a little pebble, and that Peter means like rock, like a big rock.
Okay.
But actually what most people are saying now in that first century language is that Simon meant like a reed that basically blows one way or another with the wind. And
That feels fitting.
then he says, no, I need you to be my rock. I need you to not bend to these other things. And when you think about the life of Peter after that, there's going to come a moment where Peter's going to lay it all on the line. He's going to risk his life by his declarations. He is going to live in an unbending nature for the rest of the New Testament until he ultimately will die, still unwilling to submit to anything other than Jesus, crucified upside down, because he did not see himself as worthy to be crucified in the same manner as his master. And so he's going to go from this guy who is blowing with the wind to solid and the rock. And the difference is not that Peter got stronger. The difference is that he understood what it meant to walk with the Lord, and is that he didn't tap into Peter's strength. He was able to access the strength of the Holy Spirit that lived inside him. God inhabited him in order to give him that strength. I think sometimes we think, man, I've got to get stronger. You can't. And it's like people who go like, well, I'll come to Jesus, but I've got to deal with this stuff in my life in order, like, first before I come to Jesus. And my answer to that every time somebody says that to me is, then you'll never conquer those things in your life, because the reason you have failed at conquering those things in your life is because you're doing it in your power. It is only when you submit your life to Christ and now are filled with the Holy Spirit's power that you now have the power to overcome the thing that you are facing.
Yeah, and some of those things that you are facing and you are struggling with are because they come out of who you are.
Yes.
Like, as a broken, sinful person. And that's the part about the name change that I love, is like Jesus going, I have a different identity that I need you to embrace. That the things, however you lived your life before, are not going to describe you anymore, because I'm going to change who you are. And that's what Christ does for us even today, is when we come to know Christ, we were dead and now we're alive. We were in darkness, now we're light. So it changes everything about us. So a lot of people will ask this question, well, if I follow Jesus, is he going to ask me to change stuff about my life? And our temptation in American Western Christianity is to go, well, maybe. And like, the answer is yes. Absolutely. Because he's going to change who you are from the inside out.
But one of the things I think is so important, and we see it in the life of Peter, is one of the things that people struggle with so much. And I know, Wes, you and I have talked to people in this area over and over again, is they go, I came to Christ, I surrendered my life, but they're mad at themselves. They're overwhelmed with guilt and shame because they haven't changed fully yet. And like, they're still struggling with something. And you go, like, look at the life of Peter. Peter is going to be told he is going to be the rock, and it's going to be his confession on which Jesus will found the church. But he's not there yet. He hasn't gotten to that place. He's going to need a lot of growth, a lot of the big word for the sanctification. He's going to need a sanctifying process in his life.
A lot of grace.
So Jesus is going to declare his identity long before he actually arrives at his identity. And that's what's so powerful about grace, is God's going, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, I see this, you are this. you haven't made it to this yet, but I'm going to declare this identity while you walk into it, not just when you walk into it.
And I know we stopped just a little bit before that, but I just want to direct people to verse 46, which has the tremendous passage. Nazareth, exclaimed Nathanael, can anything good come from Nazareth? And that reminds me of an old conversation we had about different suburbs in the Metroplex and what we compared Nazareth to. So I was just going to say, that is one of the examples that I think about like quite a bit when we talk about like maybe Nazareth was not the bustling metropolis where all of the good things and people came out of.
Yeah. I mean, it's so like if somebody said, "Oh, a famous actor came out of L.A. or New York," you go, "Well, yeah, that's where they're supposed to come from."
Right.
But when you go like, "Hey, there's a super famous person that came out of Abilene," and you're like, "What?" Like it just sounds more unique, and that's really this, and it's really a cool thing. But
Sorry to throw shade, Abilene listeners.
oh, you know, Abilene, yeah, you know, all our Abilene fans,
All our listeners in Abilene.
You just wait. You just wait.
Hawk Ratliff, if you're listening, Abilene.
Go ahead and comment. Where do you think Jesus would be from in America? Like, if it's not going to be Abilene, where would you put forth?
Well, you have this. What I love about this is you have this kind of. In some ways, it might feel like an underwhelming start. You have a fishing expedition that goes pretty good, and some guys that say, "Sure, I'll follow you," and one of them gets his name changed, and that's the nuts and bolts of the origin story of Peter. And what God is going to make that into is going to be like, it's one of those things like if you would have asked Peter in that moment, "Dude, what do you think this is going to be like in the next 3-4 years?" Like Peter probably isn't going, "Man, well, I can tell you in a little over 3 years, I will stand up in Jerusalem just weeks after that Jesus guy that asked us to follow him has both been crucified and walked out of his own grave. And I will preach a profound sermon to thousands of people. And by the way, some of them are going to hear it in weird languages that I'm not even speaking. And then all of a sudden, thousands of people are going to come to faith." Like Peter could never have seen that coming. And you go, what if you surrender your life to God? What is it that God's got in your path that you couldn't imagine happening, but it's there, and you're on a collision course for it if you would just believe and trust him?
And the biggest thing I think both of y'all have brought up specifically when it comes to Peter is he wasn't ready, or he didn't think he was ready, and he didn't think he was done. And so,
But he was willing.
yeah, exactly. And so, I mean, we're all, probably a lot of people listening today, hopefully people have listened to this who maybe haven't thought that they're ready or willing or able all of the way, but they're like, you know what, I'm going to go follow.
Well, let's bring this full circle here, Kevin.
There it is. Thank you.
Our first, I think it was our very first podcast. We were in another room, and we were doing one. And before the podcast, you were asking us about missions.
Yeah.
And you asked us about the Germany trip, and we were just talking about it. But we were talking about it like anecdotally. Like you were not signed up to go on this trip.
Right.
There were obstacles in front of you going on this trip. At no point were you going, "Oh man, in a few months we'll be talking about what happened for me on this trip."
Right.
And yet now we're several months further down the road. You have gone to and come back from Germany. There are people you now know in your life, people you were connected with, people that have made an impact on you, people that you've made an impact on, all because you had a willingness to go. And you didn't see that coming.
No.
And that to me is very emblematic of what God does in our life. Like that moment, you might look at that moment and go, "Well, it's not near as big a deal as what happened to Peter." And I go, "You don't know that. You don't know if the one of those kids that you were there with, and that they go, 'Man, this guy cared enough about us to come with the church from Texas to come be in Germany.'" You don't know what God has planned in those lives. Maybe God's going to grow those kids up to bring Jesus into their homes, and that's going to impact generation upon generation. Maybe one of them is going to be the next great pastor and evangelist of Germany. Like maybe one's going to be a missionary into America or Asia or someplace. Like you just don't know how God's going to use your part of the story. But what we know is he's already begun to use it. And so you can't envision what's coming, but God's got God's always got bigger purposes than what we think.
And a lot of times, to the point you were making earlier, it was uncomfortable to just go ahead and sign off on it and be like, all right, let's do it. You know, like I know here, I know my couch, I know my favorite TV shows, you know, like I did not know what was on the other side, but I am immensely glad that I went.
Yeah. We're proud of you.
Yep.
All right. Are you mostly proud because my team won? I'm just kidding.
Come on, Wes.
I'm proud of you.
I wish the video would have been on for that one.
Oh, I know.
I knew that would get him. Hey, you got to have one team you support that wins, right?
What team? None of my teams win, Kevin.
I love that.
None of my teams win. Before you went to Germany, my baseball team was good. And then while you were gone, they were bad.
You know, I do.
My basketball team is bad. My football team is fine. They're going to win the Super Bowl.
Do we know that your basketball team is bad?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty
We traded out John the Baptist. You're the one who told me that.
And for the Crossroads podcast.
For the Crossroads podcast. We'll see you next week.